Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Power Hour, and it's my great pleasure again to introduce to you our fabulous Isha Patel, Isha the nutritionist. You're now Nisha for me. Um, Isha, Isha and I will be very much so starting a subject today because it's a very broad subject affecting many health issues and health aspects and pretty much any aspects of a day-to-day life for many people, and that is the gut health. Somehow misunderstood by many people, somehow mismanaged by some as well. So what we're going to attempt to do is to make sense of it, talk a little bit about what do we mean by gut health, what to do to promote gut health, what to avoid doing that could be potentially harmful. And we're also going to talk about the all important subject of probiotics, which again causes a little bit of a misconception out there, and there's various different opinions, so we come into the source today to ask all the important questions. Thank you for coming, Isha.
Excited to share this information.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, yes, this is definitely Isha's favorite topic to talk about in the world, and she's an absolute superstar when it comes to gut health. So I'm not going to talk too much today. I'm going to let you answer all my burning questions. But Isha, I guess we're going to start with the all important question of what do we mean by gut health? What do we consider a healthy gut? What is that term about?
So lots of people, when they think about gut health, think it's their stomach, and their stomach's healthy because they have a bowel movement every day, so they're quite regular. Their gut is healthy. That's so wrong because it's not your stomach; it's the large intestine. So when we're talking about gut health, we're looking at maintaining a healthy large intestine, ideally your colon. So in our colon, we have millions or trillions of little microbes and specific gut bacteria that have different roles. And ideally, you get this from a very young age. So from the point that you're born. So if you are delivered naturally, you are inoculated with enough gut bacteria. So you've already kind of developed and enhanced and inherited some of the bacteria through your mother's vaginal cavity. Then if you're breastfed, the first kind of surge of breast milk colostrum is, this surge that really kind of kickstarts your gut health and starts it going. So ideally, that is what gut health is. It's not your stomach, it's the large colon, and it's the bacteria, particularly the beneficial bacteria in the large colon, that we're looking out for to kind of optimize our overall health.
That's incredible. So that's already something we learned. So I guess when anyone's worried about their gut health, what are some of the symptoms that we be looking out for? What can indicate that we might be having some problems with our gut health?
So some people, it varies from individual to individual, and the most obvious would be food intolerances or allergies. If you feel like you're getting either an anaphylactic reaction or intolerant reaction, so symptoms include bloating, acid reflux, lots of gas, inconsistent bowel movements like diarrhea or constipation, skin flare-ups, so you could have acne or psoriasis, also fatigue, really like irregular mood swings, pretty much everything could come down to intolerances in the gut. And this is purely because you don't have the right bacteria to break the food down. So the food is ideally fermenting, so it's actually rotting, producing all sorts of toxins that get into your bloodstream and cause these nasty symptoms.
So I suppose those symptoms can also indicate all the other issues with our health. So I guess it's really important that we get correct tests done in order to really establish that this is the gut health issue that we're dealing with. What are the best tests that could actually show us clearly what's wrong and make sure that we're on the right track to get that better?
There are a lot of mixed messages on testing, but the best way to test for your gut bacteria would be to do a stool test. And this would give you ideally a snapshot of what's going on. So you get a general picture of how many beneficial bacteria you have to overgrowth of unwanted bacteria or pathogenic bacteria that cause lots of infections. And so it gives you a good idea of stool test. I always say there are lots of good labs. So Geneva is a good one. Atlas Biome is excellent as well. They actually look at your bacteria and see what kind of conditions you may be predisposed to. So they give you a risk factor for things like obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. So that's a really good one.
Oh, that's incredible. And I suppose, because I think I know the answer to that question, can we tell from that bacteria resource that what kind of problems we may develop in the future, but also most importantly, can we change that, Isha? Can we manipulate the bacteria in our gut in order to avoid problems in the future?
Yes, so when we talk about manipulating the gut, it's ideally manipulating the gut, but also healing that gut lining and actually resetting it almost. By resetting your gut health, you're actually improving your brain health, the rest of the body, improving your risk of diseases and immunity, particularly your hormones. So you're balancing out hormones that may be really irregular. You're sleeping better, your skin's better, everything kind of improves in your gut. So it's really a reset. You're wiping everything out and then rebuilding it again. Just like a baby, it goes back to going back to that baby stage where you're born as a clean slate. That's what we do with people that have so many symptoms and a dysbiosis really from their stool test.
And I think I'm really pleased to hear as well that there's a lot more information and awareness right now about how important gut health is to our overall health, right? Lots of people claim and go as far as saying that unless you have a healthy gut, you won't be able to have an overall healthy body and that optimum health cannot be reached. So I think it's fair to say that it is a starting point to that optimum health and to make sure that our body works as a machine that it's designed to be working. Before we're going to touch on the important subject of the supplementation, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the standard stuff that we do every day in order to, first of all, improve an unhealthy gut and then obviously maintain it. So I imagine that the foods that we eat in that case will be very similar. So what are some of the best foods that we can include in our diet in order to make sure that our gut health is in a top-notch place?
Yeah, so people that really suffer with bloating or constipation, diarrhea, fatigue, try and identify what the trigger foods are. I always say to eliminate trigger foods, and if you don't want to get an expensive test to find this out, you can do it at home. It's very simple. For 12 weeks, weekly cut out the most common trigger foods. So this would be gluten, wheat, eggs, fish, nuts. There's a huge list. I probably will talk about it in the next session. But if you weekly cut those out and notice a difference, then you have somewhat of an intolerance. So the first thing is to remove all trigger foods and then to add healing foods. So these are gut-friendly foods. And this would include lots of leafy green vegetables, which are fermented fibers. They actually feed the good gut bacteria. They also heal your body and give it lots of rich nutrients like magnesium, iron, vitamin D, vitamin K, calcium. So it's all, promoting good gut health as well as good overall health. And then we would look at, just really lining up the gut lining. So we want to be eating fermented foods, lots of sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, kefir, as much as fermented food as you can, really to enhance the gut health. I guess it varies from individual to individual because if you've got an overgrowth of unwanted bacteria, you can't automatically start eating fermented foods because it can go the other way. So the first most important thing is to eliminate all trigger foods and then kind of assess symptoms and then go from there.
That's really important. And I guess that probably goes the same way for maintaining that gut health, doesn't it? It's just making sure that we include those foods probably on a daily basis, and we constantly feed it that gut lining with some good nutrients and the healthy bacteria.
Yeah, and try to keep as diverse as possible. If you're going to eat the repetitive meals that most people do just because of convenience, what you're doing is you're killing or starving out the bacteria. For example, if you cut out potatoes out of your diet, just as an example, you are starving out the digestive enzymes and the bacteria that are used to break down and feed on the potatoes. So what happens is 6 months down the line, if you were to eat a potato, you haven't got the correct component to break them down, so they sit there and rot, and it's like the cycle of causing the unwanted symptoms because of the toxins. So, diversity is key. Eat everything apart from the processed foods, the refined sugars, and your trigger foods. And Professor Tim Spector at King's College did a study and found if you eat at least 20 different foods in a week, you are approximately feeding 1,500 different bacteria strains in your gut. So that is just diet. You don't even have to put the supplements in. It's just food.
That's incredible. That's actually really, really useful to know. And I think not enough emphasis is put on the diversity and variety of the foods we eat. So that's actually an incredible number. I wonder, though, are there any foods in particular that could compromise the gut health? I'm sure there are. But what should we probably eliminate / limit in our diet to make sure that we're not compromising the good stuff?
Yeah. As controversial as it sounds, some people do say to eat gluten if you can tolerate it, but to avoid foods like gluten-containing foods would be great because gluten contains a protein called zonulin, and this actually triggers inflammation. It makes the bacteria that love carbohydrate and sweet foods eat quicker and overgrow, as opposed to the beneficial bacteria. So we've got a ratio of bads to goods. And it also thins out the gut lining, so it causes something called intestinal permeability or leaky gut. Now, leaky gut is an umbrella, it can cause a whole range of different symptoms and conditions that you don't need, like chronic fatigue, migraines. It can cause candida, so it's just a whole another thing that you don't need. So yeah, gluten, cut that out. You can try and have ancient grains as a substitute, just if you need that carbohydrate. So try and have lots of ancient grains. Try sourdough bread if you want to, because the dough is actually fermented for over a few days. That's great. Yeah. Of course, processed foods. Keep away from the processed meats, fried foods, sugar foods, because the bacteria love sugar, and they're quite clever. I could go on. We could talk about bacteria in another session. Bacteria are clever in that they can manipulate themselves into causing cravings. We have one nerve from the gut to our brain, and that sends chemical pathways, so it causes craving for sweet food, even if you don't want it, just because they want it. It's not particularly that you want the sugar, it's the bacteria. So they cause that craving in your brain, and certain chemicals and hormones to be released. So yeah.
Wow. So for all of you who desperately want to start eating sweets but can't, it's not you, it's your bacteria.
Absolutely. And that can cause things like
you heard it. Wow, that is really incredible. So that's very clever little things.
Yeah. I think in the next session it might be good to talk about different types of the beneficial bacteria and what they do. There's some that are involved in weight loss, some that are involved in autoimmune conditions. So yeah, we'll talk about that next
time. So outside the foods, I imagine there are other factors that can impact our gut health. Is it the standard smoking, drinking, stress, or are we looking at any other aspects of our life when it comes to our gut health? What can improve it and what can sabotage it?
So what can sabotage it? Stress, that can really impact it. I mean, our gut health, the bacteria levels vary from during the day anyway. From what you have in the morning, the levels are different throughout the day and then back in the evening. So stress is a big one. Also lifestyle factors. So if you're quite a lazy person, you are, feeding the wrong type of bacteria. Also your body weight. So if you're overweight, you have a bacteria called Firmicutes, which increases weight gain as opposed to maintaining healthy weight. Also, poor diet, the use of medications. If you've had steroids or if you've had a long antibiotic history, that pretty much would wipe out the majority of your good bacteria. So antibiotics actually is quite key. I ask all of my patients about their history of antibiotics, if they've taken them. If they have, then they practically have no gut bacteria. And wrecks your system.
And I guess this is the all important one, because a lot of people are aware of the importance of supplementing with probiotics, but I think we already are slowly touching on that subject. It's really important to know what you're supplementing and the quality of the supplements that you're using, because I think it's fair to say if you just go to your regular store and pick up, a bottle that stays on the shelf and, stays there probably for months as well by the time it reaches you, are we actually getting anything? What is the ideal pathway for us to really get the most out of the supplementation with probiotics? So I imagine the first we need to know what types we need to supplement.
Absolutely. It's quite hard. So I would always say to go to a nutritionist or a professional when you're trying to consult or, wanting to take certain supplements, because they have to assess your symptoms and your diet before they can there's different strains. So you can't just go out and take one because you think you've got a bad tummy. It doesn't work like that. It's always best to consult with a professional. But, as a general rule of thumb, if you're wanting just overall probiotics for daily use, there's a few things to look out for. So try and make sure that they're at least 10 billion CFU, so that's colonizing forming unit. They have at least 8 beneficial bacteria or live bacterial strains, and they at least contain bifidobacteria and lactobacillus. So that's the second one. Thirdly, I would look at if they're powdered, tablet, or liquid form. So with this, it's quite individual preference, but I always say to clients the liquid form is best, and it's best to take it first thing in the morning as your stomach acid levels are at the lowest, so you're not killing the bacteria. Liquid probiotics are usually live and active bacteria strains, so they're not just frozen and then they activate as soon as they get into your tummy. They're already ready to go. If you take it first thing in the morning, wait 10 minutes before eating and drinking, you can actually hear gurgling, and that's the bacteria, because bacteria can multiply between 3 and 6 minutes if you have a healthy, juicy colon for them to live in. It's like a hotel for them, I guess, or a permanent home. So yeah, tablets.
That is incredible. I see why you're getting so passionate about it. I'm sitting here thinking, this is incredible. What a clever little things.
Yeah. They're incredible. There is a book, I'll probably share that next week as well, which talks about the way bacteria work. But going back to probiotic supplements, so if you're getting tablets, they may be destroyed already because of the light. So if you're getting them from a clear plastic or glass bottle, shelf life is not very high because of the kind of lights they have. They're killing the bacteria. And if you take some for breakfast, your stomach acid levels are so high, so they actually get killed in the stomach before they even get to the colon. There's very few left to repopulate.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not saying that powdered or capsules are bad, but I prefer liquid. As long as you take them first thing in the morning without any food, you should be okay. And then of course, that's the probiotic side. So that's the live bacteria you're putting in. And to feed that, you have to have prebiotics. So you can actually get prebiotic supplements like Bimuno. But I always say to, food is best. So eat prebiotic-rich foods. So that's asparagus, banana, dark chocolate, and lots of leafy green vegetables, artichokes, things like that to feed that bacteria.
And I know that some people take the tablets with the prebiotics. Do we take these together with the probiotics, after, before, or they didn't? What is the sequence in here? What is the key to get the most out of it?
Not everyone needs probiotics. If you've already, your bacteria, your stool test comes back with a good range of healthy bacteria, then we just focus on feeding that through prebiotics or prebiotic-rich foods. But for those that have a bad level, I would say to take probiotics first thing in the morning and have a good diverse breakfast. You can have a sourdough piece of toast with eggs and spinach and tomatoes, and then have your prebiotic after your breakfast. So you've got the bacteria and then you're feeding it, and then you can just gobble it up. And you can hear the rumbling. That's the most interesting thing. You can actually hear the rumbling, and you can hear them multiplying and making themselves at home.
Wow, that's your little science experiment right inside your tummy. Yeah. That's incredible. I think it's what I want everyone listening to us to really get out of that conversation is that when you think about the long-term, the sustainable health, we always want to make sure that we look at our diet and lifestyle first, because these are the factors that we won't get rid of. These are the factors that stay with us, and these are the factors that actually have direct indications on what the gut health feels like and how good it is at any given time. So what I think is important, as much as obviously supplements are fantastic, and in many places in our life, depending on what's going on, including taking the antibiotics, they have their place and they're important, and they can definitely speed up the process. But I think it's important, and I know this is exactly how you work with your clients, is to sort out the fundamentals first, meaning your diet, your lifestyle, work with establishing that healthy routine in order for you to actually not having to spend money later down the line or constantly going in and out of the supplement routes, and get the most out of your own food. Because we know that, the food nutrient levels are touch and go, but nothing will really get absorbed unless we have that healthy gut lining that is able to absorb the nutrients. So unless that fundamental is sorted, we can spend thousands of pounds every year on various different supplements, and we're generally just putting them down the drain.
Yeah, sometimes, lifestyle conditions, you can't help it. You may have to have a colonoscopy where you have to take that Moviprep, which is going to wreck your gut health, or you're going to take a colonic, which I don't really recommend much, but lots of people like that. These things, that is going to wreck your gut health, and we can't help that. But as long as you maintain your probiotics and a really good, healthy diet and a good lifestyle factor, there's no way that you can really impair your health. So it's really looking down at what's going down in the cellular level, which is, what nutritionists and functional medicine practitioners are supposed to do. And I guess I combine the two. So I look at evidence-based practice, but I also look at, the whole holistic picture on what's going on down to the cell to really get to the bottom, because I don't like clients coming back saying, well, this has come back. Because that is not how I function. It's, I want to see it just go up and up.
That's it. It's very true. Just to finish, maybe I will bring up one of our mutual clients that has seen such an incredible improvement from working with you. And that is the lady that has actually seen various different nutritionists before. And one of the most interesting things I always found about her is that her inability to eat certain foods. And she spent years avoiding those foods because she was convinced that ever since she had eaten that food, things happened that she couldn't digest the foods, and a lot of really unpleasant symptoms have occurred after eating them. So without going obviously into any personal details, can you tell us a little bit about how we got her from not being able to eat things like, I remember there was melons that she couldn't eat and a lot of other fruits, and I think she was actually avoiding fiber, which naturally we wanted her to include in her diet. So how did we get her from that stage to the stage where she is now an absolute superstar and eating whatever she wants?
So she has so many things wrong with her, like the low energy levels. She would completely crash to the point where she'd need to nap. And as a result, she wasn't doing her workouts that you gave her. She was gaining weight. Her nails and hair were brittle. She had, she wanted to have a baby. So there was a lot of things, we were working with. The first thing we looked at was just wiping that gut. So we removed all her trigger foods, everything that she was intolerant to or couldn't eat. We removed that anyway. And we were giving her foods to help grow the bacteria in combination with the live bacteria. Once we did that, we healed that gut lining through a range of different vitamins and minerals. And then we focused on her lifestyle factors. And then, like a baby, we weaned in these foods week by week, or we combined them. There's foods, that you can eat in combination that enhance and complement each other to get the best absorption of certain vitamins and minerals. And yeah, weekly we worked on that. And then just the results she was saying that were amazing, that she could eat this. Now she's got all this energy. She's flying back from different countries. So it was amazing, but it took a lot of work. And I guess having the most positive mindset helped in this as well, because when you're removing toxins into your bloodstream, it can be quite bad.
And I think this is what I want to leave everyone tonight listening to us with, is that when I met the lady in question, you know, it was almost like she didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. That was her new reality. And that's essentially how she, you know, when she came to see me first, she was essentially telling me that, well, you know what, I can only do about 3 to 4 exercises at any given time, and sometimes that's even too much for myself. And obviously from a trainer's perspective, I knew that that won't be enough to give her any results. So I knew that the underlying issue that needed to be addressed is her internal health. And after referring her to yourself, about I think a month or a month and a half later, when we met again, it was like I had a different person in front of me, you know, and then every single time I saw her since then, it's almost like I forgot that there ever been a problem with her. She's been incredible. She's gone from doing 3 exercises twice a week to exercising every day, and feeling great, looking fantastic, and actually just really improved her overall well-being. And what I mean by that, everything from sleep to, you know, a little bit more of a aesthetical side of things. She is just a completely different person. So if you struggle with a lot of unpleasant symptoms, and, you know, we sometimes, obviously there's other health conditions that are responsible for that, but if you're struggling with pinpointing what's causing this kind of lethargic feelings, this crashes of energy, problems with digestion, skin issues, you know, I'd say don't wait for it to go away, nor should you, you know, experiment on your own body with various different supplements. Get some help, get it tested, and get it sorted. And from what I can see, it's life transforming.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's just, you know, just pop in and have a chat. There's just no harm to ask, because you might not even think that something you have, like a headache, could be correlated to your gut. So it's just ask, and we can definitely help you get to the best health that you need and want.
Amazing. Isha, thank you very much. I think we're going to continue that talk next week. It sounds like we still have a lot to cover in terms of that tricky little bacteria that's lurking inside us. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. That was really insightful.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.